Good morning, game makers. Looks like this week we're only going to have two videos. They've been a little bit longer, and so I think two videos is a good compromise instead of the three that we've been doing. There'll still be a quiz on Friday, but you just have to watch me a little bit less. So today I want to create the uh, the jelly block, and so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and create a new sprite. And it's going to be the same size as the others, 64 by 32. But there's going to be some things we're going to do a little bit different with this particular thing. So I'm going to go to give it a name, call it SBR Jelly. Go ahead and edit it, and I'm going to fill it in. But when I fill it, I'm actually going to use a little bit of transparency in game design and digital art, also known as affecting its alpha. So I want it to be purple, and I'm going to choose the fill. But if I just fill it in, it's going to fill it in with an opaque color, and I want my jelly to be see-through. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, and I'm going to manipulate the alpha, and because of this checkered pattern in the background, you can see that it is partially see-through. Um, and well, that's going to work out great for an object that isn't truly solid. And I'm going to create a new layer to put on some details. And so I'm going to go ahead and lighten this color. Uh, and I'm probably not going to make the best sprite here. Um, let's see. Yeah, I do have the line tool chosen. And I'll probably, just like I do in all videos, go back and actually make this a little nicer. Um, let's go white with a little bit of transparency. And I know I said I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on the sprite, and here I am spending a lot of time on the sprite. And let's see, I'm going to go back to this color and just do a little bit of shading. All right, I'm really sorry. I know I said I wasn't going to do this, and I'm a big fat liar. So my apologies. And then up and all right, that's going to do it for now. I promise. And so when I create the object, this object is going to, when the ball collides with it, it's going to capture the ball. The ball is going to get stuck in it for a second, and then after a second, gravity is going to pull that ball down. Um, so in order for this the whole thing to work, I do have to do a little programming in the ball. And in the create event, I'm going to have a variable called dropping, and it's by default false. And if the ball is dropping, of course, this only needs to take place in when the ball is in play. So I need to put it inside of those brackets. If dropping, um, and let's think about what happens when something drops. Um, it's going to start with no speed, and it's going to gradually pick up speed, but I don't want it to pick up 2 speed. It is possible. I've done some versions of this where the ball gets so fast that it's just unrealistic. So if speed is less than start speed, um, so we'll use that variable, then speed is going to plus equals, we'll say 0.1. So every frame, if it's not at start speed, it's going to speed up. Um, so that should work. We have a state of dropping, and then when the ball hits the paddle or or is lost, it goes off the screen. We should set dropping default. So I'm going to do that up here. So if the ball isn't in play, um, we're going to say dropping equals false. Otherwise, if it goes off the screen and goes above the bat, it's going to continue to go down and create some problems. And then where's our collision with the bat? Um, there it is. Dropping equals false. All right, so I think that'll all work. Now we got to program our jelly object. Create obj jelly and give it a sprite. And so the jelly is going to have two variables that it's going to keep track of. First of all, it's going to keep track of whether or not it has the ball, and that's going to be false by default. And then dropping ball is going to be false. So we need to know those two things, and that's going to allow us to do the rest of the programming. Now, I don't believe I can do a collision event in the jelly. I think I'm because of what I plan to do. I'm going to actually do it all in the step event. Um, so if the ball the only thing the jelly really needs to know is it colliding with the ball, and then react accordingly. So if place meeting with the ball, then do these things. So that's what it needs to know, and keep track of. So if it doesn't already have the ball, we need to capture it. So if, and boy, so many people missed this on last week's quiz. If not, this exclamation means not, or is this false? Has, did I use have ball? Gut ball? What did I use? If it does not gut the ball, which is really bad English, then it's going to do these things. So the first thing is we need to set gut ball to true. It does have it. So the ball is true. This will prevent it from running a continuous loop, um, where nothing happens. Then we need to set an alarm for 1 second. And this alarm is going to be keeping track of when it's going to release the ball or start the gravity is going to start to pull it down. And so we're going to say room speed. So we want that to be happen in 1 second. So it's got the ball, and then we got to say what's happening with the ball. So with object ball, we're going to do these things. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to say the ball speed is 0. Um, so the ball is going to stop. It's going to go and squish into the jelly and stop there. Then I'm going to go ahead and give the ball a direction. So when it does start moving, the ball is going to go down. So if you remember on the wheel, down is direction 270 degrees. And that's really all I need to do there. Um, and now I need to know what's going on if the ball is starting to move down, if we're starting to drop the ball. Um, so if dropping ball is true, then we're gonna um, do the. I don't know if I have multiple things I need to do here. I think if I don't need to do another set of brackets. Um, if dropping ball with object ball dropping equals true. Can I put that all in one line? I guess we're about to find out. Um, so now I'm just concerned I have brackets out of order. Does this have a mate? It does. Um, and that's because I feel like that's in the wrong place. Well, we'll find out in a minute. And then the only other thing we need to keep track of is if it's no longer colliding with the ball, then we need to reset some variables. So if dropping ball and not colliding anymore, then we can reset some of those variables. So it's in the state of dropping the ball, but there's no longer any collision. We can set dropping ball to false, and we can set gut ball to false because it's not doing any of those things anymore. So a lot going on there. So if you're colliding with the ball, if you don't already have it, then start the alarm. And setting gut ball to true means that this is not going to just continuously loop. With the ball, we're going to set it to a speed of 0, direction of 270, sort of like there's the gravity. If we're dropping the ball, we are going to set the variable to true, and then that looks good. The only other thing I need is my alarm 0, and that's just going to set dropping ball to true. All right, so now the moment of truth. We're going to go into our room and we're going to put a couple instances of this thing. So it's got to go on the instance layer, but you know what? I want to ensure that it goes above the ball. So I'm actually going to create a new instance layer to be sure that that happens. So create new instance layer. Its default instance is 1, but I want to actually rename that to jelly layer. Jelly layer. And I want to put it, make sure it's above my other instances layer, and that way the ball will seem to go behind it. So I'm going to choose my jelly layer and put a few jellies there. I do not like that sprite, and I will be updating it off camera. Let's see. All right, let's see what happens here. It might be too low, actually, and I'm concerned that the player won't have time to react. So let's find out. So I'm going to try to purposely get stuck in the jelly, and it holds it for a second. Does it drop it? It does not. So let me stop the video, and I'm going to find out why I have that bug in my code and tell you how I fixed it. All right, gang, I think it is as simple as this little bracket right here is in the wrong place. So I'm going to go ahead and move that because I think it was looping this code in with this other junk, and I think that really just something small like that was the problem. So let's find out. So yeah, we do want to try to run it again, and once I get this working, I do want to add a one sound effect for this game. Okay, it's caught and it does drop, and you can see it's hard, actually a little bit hard to see, but the ball does actually go behind the jelly. Now, it doesn't go behind very much though. And so I'm going to go ahead and go up to my sprite and I'm going to change something there. And that's the collision mask. So each thing has a collision mask that detects, okay, this is the area that's going to be considered a collision. And it looks like I messed up my sprite a little bit, but again, I'm not going to fix that here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to shrink that collision mask down a little bit. So I'm going to give it like a 5-pixel buffer around it. So I'm going to have to change this to manual, but then I want it to go in 5 pixels on the left. I want it to go in 5 pixels on the right, which I believe would be 58. My math skills are going to be um, potentially embarrassing here. And then we're going to go 26. And that's going to actually allow the ball to go inside of my jelly a little bit more. And I think I'm going to really like the way that looks. It doesn't change the sprite, but it changes when collision is detected. The other thing I want to do is I want to add a new sound effect. I want to bring it into my game. And so I'm going to go to a website that I really like, and it's called soundbible.com. And it has all kinds of free sound effects. And one of the ones that I'm going to use is this split splat sound. It's very small. It's only 125 kilobytes. I'm going to download the wave version of it. Could, with modern computers, MP3s open pretty quick, but an uncompressed file format like a wave is the fastest. It's a little bit of a larger file, but it's also but it loads really quickly. I do notice that it says that the license for this is attribution 3. And so if you ever see that and you're curious, okay, so what does that give me the rights to do with this file? And so just a quick search to creativecommons.org tells me that I can copy and redistribute this material in any medium or format. I'm allowed to adapt it. The only thing that I really have to do, or the only obligation I have, is if I was to market this game or even distribute this game, I would have to give credit to the maker. So I must give appropriate credit to the creator and a link to the license and indicate if changes were made. And there's no other additional restrictions. So if I was to market this game, I would have to then credit, um, let's see about if it even tells us who made it. Um, Recorded by Mike Koenig. And so I'd have to credit him, give a link to the license, and if I did make any changes, indicate that. But I'm going to go ahead and download this file, and then go in here, and to load a sound, I'm going to go create sound and call it sound splat. And I'll go ahead and load some of my other sounds off camera. I'm going to go to my downloads and find that. And if I just want to preview it, um, I didn't hear anything. So I'm going to have to figure out did the file not load? Interesting. All right, I'll figure that out too. Um, but not right now. So let me just show you the visual changes. Oh, that's going to bug me. Oh well. Let me just show you the physical or the visual changes. You'll notice that when the ball interacts with the jelly now, it seems to go in a little bit further. You can see everything is working great though. After a second, it does release it, and a bug was just simply created by having a bracket out of place. So that's the jelly block. See if I can get those sounds working, and if I can, maybe I'll do a really short video of that and tell you why it didn't work in the first place. So thanks for watching. Quiz tomorrow.